Running on the clock. Running on the clock. Mm. Actually, that should have been it. Woo, let me move stuff around. Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, Joan Debster. Hey, Debster. Debster's over there on YouTube. Hey, guys. Not going to be long this live, but I do have a good message for you. I sure do. As soon as I get all my other devices ready. Hey, Catherine. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Stacy Johnson Brantley. Good afternoon, Janelle E. Edwards. Good afternoon, Joyce Williams. All is well, Joyce. Absolutely. Cheryl, my girl. Good afternoon. Hey, Patrice. I'm just setting up my other camera, my other devices. Whew, whew. Just setting up my other camera, my other devices. Whew, whew. Hey, Bags in the Attic. Gems, I know, right? Hey, Nancy Wilson Joseph. Woo, thank you for all my subscribers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey, Joe. It's so peaceful, isn't it? Thank you so much. Hey, guys. Let me get in here. Guys. So I'm able to see stuff. Hey, Carla Stewart. Hello, Elaine. I'll give you guys a few more minutes to come up in here by the thousands, by the drones. Got to put stuff in the universe. Got to put stuff in the universe. Come in by the millions. That's what I'm putting into the universe. I don't know about y'all. Really, Debster? I did not know Bags in the Attic is you. I had no idea, Debster. I wonder if anybody else know. Well, they probably do. My team is usually ahead of me in the brain game when it comes to stuff like this. So I had no idea, Debster. I had no idea. Wait a minute, but you're on YouTube. Debbie K. That's not you, Debster? Debbie K on YouTube? Hey, Venice. We claiming millions, Lena. Thank you, Simone. You didn't know either, right, Catherine? Ain't that something? So who is Debbie K on YouTube? I'll wait. For you guys that's in here, Dolores. Wait, oh no, that's not. Hey, Dolores. I thought it was Dolores Kid. Wow, Debster. Did you guys know that Debster, Debbie Kramer, is Bags in the Attic? Hey, Linda Atwater. Hey, girl. Did y'all know that? I had no idea. And so I want to know who's Debbie K on YouTube. Because I always thought that was Debbie Kramer. So I'll be waiting for Debbie to answer. So guys, really quickly, off topic. You know the sea moss I made, right? So I had some left over. Remember that batch I had left over? It was plain. Well, what I ended up doing was I didn't infuse that with anything. I just did it plain. And I'm going to be using that on my face and my hair. Yesterday, I made a whole face mask out of it. Oh my God, it tightened. It felt like it was tightening my skin. It was tingling my skin. So after 10 minutes, I took it off and oh my God, it was so smooth. And I've never had pimples or anything anyway on my face, but it felt a lot smoother. So I was looking at tutorials and you can actually use it in your hair and use it on your face. And boy, am I going to use them the clear, the plain sea moss on my face and my hair. Mm-hmm. Hey, Dolores. Hey, Mabel. I'm just waiting for a few more people to get in here. We're going to be speaking about parental malpractice and dealing with difficult children. Parental malpractice. Ain't that a doozy? Will you be selling the sea moss? No, Carmen, I won't be selling sea moss. That's not my game. That's not my niche. It's not in my spirit to do so. That I was inspired by Nurse Chris, and her page is Wellness and Lifestyles with Nurse Chris. So if you go to her page, she sells it. I don't foresee myself selling it. I don't ever say I'm never ever, because you never know what God leads you to do. But I don't think so. I don't think so. That's a lot of work. I do too much work as it is. Nope. Okay. So Bags in the Attic says that she is Debbie Kramer. She said, "This me, and I don't know why I am under both. I think I need Darnell to help me straighten it out. Facebook and YouTube are different." Yes, girl. Debbie Kramer, you're in YouTube as Debbie K and also Bags in the Attic. Nancy said, hey, Vera. Nancy said, "Oh, no, Lena, don't waste and save some. I will send you a smoothie recipe." Oh, absolutely. I'm not wasting any of it. The ones that I infuse with fruit, I'm still using that. I'm taking it every day, and I'm only taking 1 spoon in the morning and 1 at night because I did do a lot of research. You can't have an overload of iodine in your body or else, you know what I mean? So actually, I take 2 in the morning and 2 at night. That's what I do, and that's it. And I may do 2 in the morning and 1 at night because I still don't want to overdo it. You know what I mean? And you also have to drink a whole lot of water with it also. So you know me, I get my Evian. And then the plain one, I didn't waste at Nancy. I made it to a gel, just a regular plain sea moss gel, and I'm using it as a face mask in hair mask. I am checking Facebook now to see who I am there. Debbie got multiple personalities. You a Gemini, huh? No, I'm just playing. Okay, guys, so I don't have much time on here. And so I'm just going to get to it because I did promise you guys, and why am I screaming? I did promise you guys that I would, do a video on dealing with difficult children. All right. Now, I understand that most of us are past the childbearing age, and we already have our children. And this is why this live is titled Parental Malpractice and Dealing with Difficult Children. Because at this time, if there were any issues in raising your children, or your children or your grown children in the past has manifested some emotions that came completely, it appears out of the blue, this stage is when we start dealing with those types of behaviors. Don't necessarily have to be young children. It can even be grown adult children, where you have noticed that they have been demonstrating some, behaviors, some uncomfortable or difficult behaviors during the years growing up that they have never really, healed from. Hey, Chiquita. Hey, Linda. Oh, Linda said, I thought you was already here. Oh, Linda Whitaker. Hey, Linda Whitaker, Yvette Savage. Hello. Um, and so what I want to speak about is our roles as parents and how we get trapped into, we think we're doing the right thing. And we're doing the right thing according to how we were brought up. But a lot of times we're not doing the right thing in regards to our children and raising them. So most people, when we have children not expected, especially if they were unplanned, and then, you know what, let me just throw that out there. That doesn't even matter. If we have children, right? Most of us raise our children according to how we were raised, right? We don't give them a clean slate. If we attend a certain religion or a certain church, then they're bound to go to that through that religion, experience that religion, and also go to a certain church as well, right? Hey, Sandra. Dr. Lisa, good afternoon. Darlene Cottrell, good afternoon. And so we end up doing a disservice to our children by making them or molding them into who we want them to be, as opposed to who they were intended to be as coming into this world as an individualized consciousness with their own characteristics, with their own personality. And so we end up, because we don't know how to do it, because these kids that we have are brand new, we don't have any experience in dealing with their particular personality type or characteristics. And higher than that, they don't even, thank you so much, Debbie Kramer, for the stars. They don't even demonstrate what they're really or what their passion is until later on, so we don't really get to know our children until they actually almost growing up, like teenager into adulthood. So we end up raising them according to how we was raised, or according to what we want to see, right? And 9 times out of 10, it's not only what we want to see. Hello, Melvin, and Sandra. It's not only what we want to see. It's based on what we believe and the path that we believe that they should go, and the path that we create for them would be our own path. So they don't really have the freedom to show up authentically. And thank you guys so much for the hearts. They don't have the clearance to be themselves, right? And when you can't be yourself, you become suppressed. And we all know that, because we have all been through that. We are all a product of our parents, right? Until we get to an age where we realize that what we're doing is not what we really want to do. Who we married is not who we really wanted to marry. The school we went to is not what we really intended on doing. You see what I'm saying? So instead of creating our own path, a path is created for us, and that's the parental malpractice part. Now, it doesn't mean that as parents we are wrong, because we're not wrong, because we can't do. Thank you so much, Dr. Lisa, for sharing. And hey, Phyllis, and thank you so much for coming. It's not that the path that we have given for them, we intentionally did it, with bad intentions. That's all we know. We can't give what we don't have. So all we can give is what was given to us, or what we decided to create for ourselves once we became a functioning adult, And so that path always suppresses them, right? And in that path, because so many things are passed down through generations, including the whippings, including the forms of punishment, including chores, including all these things, they don't really work for some children. You know what I mean? They don't really work for them, primarily because our children is supposed to be a better, more improved version of us, not the same version. But we raise our children basically trying to create the same version of us. This is what you should believe. This is the church you should go to. This is the school you should go to. This is what you should do. You should go to college. You should get a degree. You should want a home. You should want a car. You should want 2.5 kids. And all of these shoulds. And that's not the reality of life. And that's not what we're supposed to be doing to our children. Our job as parents is to keep our children safe, alive, and well-fed and nurtured. And we're supposed to assist them in their efforts to become whoever it is they want to become, right? So I understand with the religion, okay, this is what I believe. I'm taking you to church because this is what I believe, and this is the right way that I believe that you should go. Thank you for sharing, Sharon, that you should go, right? But if you're going to do that, you should also do it in a way where this is what I'm teaching you now. But when you become 18 and an adult and on your own, you get to explore all the other religions, right? But that's not what happens. Parents typically say, this is what you should believe, and this is the only way to believe, and and you better not stray from it, or else you're going straight to hell. Okay? So all of these things and all of these stipulations and all of these expectations we enforce on our children, we put on our children, and then they end up suppressed. The way that we punish them from our grandparents and ancestors, all of that traditional punishing, whether you're whipping your child, whether you're giving them a timeout, which actually just happened in this new day and age, because back in the day, there was never no damn timeout, right? Those things no longer work for the children of today. Even your grandchildren, So us already being parents, we have a second chance to do things differently with our children. Our purpose was never intended to make a duplicate us in the way that we believe, in the way that we think, in the way that we think things should be. Now, guiding your children to that point, I understand that that's totally right. Getting them to the point where they become an adult and they living under your house, they have to go through your rules. I get all of that. But in doing so, options should always be opened, whether they want to go to college or not. Why is not going to college such a bad idea? Such a bad idea. Why do they have to go to college and get a degree? What if they're not meant to go to college and get a degree? What if they're meant to be entrepreneurs? You see what I'm saying? So when we raise our children this way, oftentimes they have emotional pain, emotional experiences that's attached to their upbringing, right? And they become resentful a lot of the times because of the way that they were punished, right? Not to say that they didn't deserve to be punished, just the way that they were punished, right? Meaning, for instance, let me give you an example. When you hit a child or you beat a child, right? From my experience, 9 times out of 10, when people hit their children with a belt or whatever it is, especially with a belt or anything, it's really out of anger. You know how I know? Because if you wait 24 hours or 48 hours without punishing that child, you'll see that you will no longer want to hit them. Now you want to teach them. Now it becomes a teachable moment. Okay, this is what you shouldn't have done. And that's how you can tell whether the discipline that you're calling discipline is coming from a place of anger and lack of patience on your part, or is it real, discipline, and discipline is really teaching and consequences, but never hitting. So when you hit your child, that trust me, typically comes from a place of anger, and that has nothing to do with the child. It has everything to do with you. You need to get yourself together, and you need to deal with some of your childhood trauma and get rid of some of that anger before you start disciplining your child. But anyway, we're past all of that because we're all adults now. We're all grown, and I don't know how many of you guys have small children, but most of us are already dealing with our grown children at this point. Thank you so much for sharing, Nancy. So when it comes to children, to difficult children, oftentimes we don't understand where their pain comes from, because all we know is that we did everything that we could possibly do. We gave them everything that we can possibly give them, right? Yeah, we were not perfect, but the intentions behind our giving, nurturing, and raising was always in good intentions. It was always through love. unconditional love and wanting the best for your children, right? So when your child comes to you, or you start noticing some behavior patterns when they become teenagers, when they become grown adults, and now it's this detachment, from your child because, of things that you have noticed back, back when they were teenagers that they were going through, right? You don't know where that comes from. You have an idea. It could be because they don't have their father in their life. And that's a big one for boys, just to let you know. A lot of men are walking around with big holes in their hearts because of their fathers, but primarily because of their mothers, because their mothers are their first love, right? And their first form of disappointment comes from their mother, right? So even though they need their fathers, their mothers, mothers, teach boys, and fathers teach girls, really. So when they end up with this big, hole in their heart, and they start expressing that they're not happy, or they start expressing that something associated with you, and you see this tension with your child that you just can't get right. All right. The first thing that every parent should do is learn how to listen to them. That's how you deal with a difficult child, right? Now, the things that they may be saying to you as a reason why, if you can get through to them, to even have them admit what's wrong, because a lot of them is nothing, but you see that there's a problem. All right. So if you could if you could get through to them, to get them to say even a little bit of what might be wrong, especially boys, girls, it's a different story, but especially boys. If you were a single mother, if you can get them to admit a fraction of what it is that's holding them back, that's keeping them unhappy, that has created this strained relationship between you and them. If you can get them to admit it, you might not recognize what they're talking about. In fact, you may be like, I didn't do that, because what they'll say something that you've done or something that you haven't done. And your first line of defense is going to be, I didn't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. Because whatever it is that they have experienced, they have definitely experienced it. Now, whether you did it in the way or the form that they said that you did it, it doesn't matter. It may seem completely foreign to you. I have went through this, with my kids. It may seem completely foreign. Like, wait a minute, where did you get that from? That's not what happened. And I know that's not what happened. And and then you get to arguing with your child about the truth. Well, the thing is that you have to make room for their truth. It's not that they're lying. Trust me, kids are not going to just say, you know what, let me find a way to hate my mother, and I'm just going to say that she lied. No, you have to validate their reality, even if it didn't happen the way that they're saying it happened. From your perspective, it happened differently because you came from a place of love, and you know the intention behind whatever punishment you gave them, behind whatever, I don't know, whatever they were missing, whether you were at work too much and couldn't spend enough time with them, whether they were going through puberty or going through bullying at school and you was just too busy and you always disregarded them, whatever it was, you have to make room for their truth, right? And that's the first portal to get into their mind, to help them deal with their childhood trauma that you were a part of, that, because it derived from the experience that you have given them, either collectively as parents or singular as a single parent, right? All right, hold on a minute. I'm just going to go to some comments. Janice says, I love the things that you are saying, but I've always been a spanker, always spank my kids. Right. But then you have to think, Janice, did it work for you? I always got spanked. Not always. I got spanked as a teenager. It didn't work for me. Number one, it made me feel unloved. Right? It made me feel unloved. But my mom was a single parent of 6 kids. It made me feel completely unloved. It made me feel like I didn't deserve it, because those spankings, and we're calling it spankings, but as black folks call it beatings, right? It's like get a switch, get a cord, get a belt, get something. So you're getting hit with something. All right. And it doesn't work. And then it makes your child feel more. It's like you're making your child scared of you. And then they're scared to suppress them. Not that they're scared to suppress themselves. They end up suppressing who they really are in their real thoughts because they're afraid of getting spanked, right? So I understand where you're coming from because we come from an area where spankings was it. But if you think about it, what did it do for you? Did it put you in line? Did you become the greatest person on earth? And I'm sure you are, but I'm just saying, did you check all the boxes in your life? You have these two lives, the one that you're born into, and then the one that you create for yourself. When you become an adult, you get to do your own path. You get to create your own life at that point. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, I get that spankings, was necessary. And I still don't think that it were necessary. I still think that it comes from a place of anger. Because like I said, if you wait 48 hours, would you still want to spank your children? No, because you're not going to be that mad. Because now you're thinking, and you're like, okay, I'm not mad anymore. Now what I'm going to do to punish them? Just saying, not judging you, Janice. I get you because we're from the same era. I'm just saying. So, and I'm gonna get to some more comments after this also. So in any case, right? So the first rule of thumb is that you have to make room for their experience. Most times when our children come to us with something that we have done to them as children, our first line of defense is, no, we didn't. And I did this. And don't you know, I had a hard time and I gave you more than I had myself and blah, 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 blah. And we start going on to that tantrum where, what we did for them and how much we sacrificed for them. They don't want to hear that. And that's not going to help them heal because they have heard that their whole life when they got beat. Well, I did that to teach you a lesson so that way nobody else will beat you. You will know, you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense to them. So then it becomes a traumatic experience because they don't understand it. They don't understand it. Let me just put another comment up there. I had controversy with my granddaughter who was about to graduate next year. Everyone is not destined to go to college. She is torn between college and military. Right. We're not there to tell them the way that they should go. We know which way not to go. Don't do drugs, don't da-da-da. And we can show them all those examples. But life should be an oyster for everyone. And everyone is not built for college. And a lot of college is a damn ripoff. You know what I mean? You go to college, you end up being in debt for $70,000. You may as well have bought a damn home for that. But in any case, back to the point. So we have to have, and I can't be on here past like 3:40. So we have to have an open mind when it comes to our children's childhood experiences. And the way to do that is to just to be open to their perspective because they're not trying to hurt you. They're not trying to hurt you. And for us to speculate what their intentions are as far as telling us what we have done wrong, you may take that. Now I'm going to say we can take that completely offensive, but it's not going to help for it to be offensive. It's not going to help, right? Our job or our purpose at this stage in their life, especially when they're teenagers or adults, is to help them heal. So that way we can regain our relationship with them and we can form a healthy relationship where they're able to move forward and be responsible and have healthy relationships for themselves with their own families that hopefully they end up getting into, right? Or getting with. So that's the first thing. The second thing is this. Instead of saying that you did the best that you could, right? Because you could say that, right? But instead of bringing in and making it your story about how much you've done and how much you sacrificed, you listen to them, right? You tell them you've done the best thing that you've done the best that you could, right? In addition to that, instead of making excuses, because everything sounds like an excuse to a child when they're when they're expressing their trauma to you, and you start saying, yeah, well, I didn't have much money then, and da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? The best thing and the most effective thing. Good afternoon, Linda. The most effective thing that you can do when you're dealing with your children in their trauma is to look at them and tell them that you understand, even if you can't. I understand how you had that experience. Try to put yourself in their shoes, and say, I didn't intend to do that to you, but I see how you can feel that I did it to you on purpose. I see how you can feel unloved at that time. You know, whether you was working too much or whatever it is, it's all about accountability, even if you don't understand it too well. You know, you have to find a way to see things from their eyes and understand their experience instead of discounting their experience and saying, nope, that's not true. That's not true. Just because you know where, you know, that you've done everything that you can from a good place. Okay. So you have to really just listen to them and try to figure out a way to comfort them in that moment. Even if it means, you know, I'm not giving you an excuse, but here's an explanation of why I think I reacted that way when you were a child. Why I think that I chose this man or this woman over you. I didn't realize that it looked like that. But now that you're telling me that, now it all makes sense. Now I see why you feel the way you feel, because that's how it looked. And then you go on to explain how you love them. And then you go on to explain that you didn't see it then, but don't make excuses for it because it happened. You see what I'm saying? So it's a way to get around that. And it always happens in nickels. Children are not going to come to you with a whole dollar bill and get laid all on the table. No, they're going to give it to you in pennies and nickels, you know, increments here and there and here and there and here and there. And every time they come to you, you have to sometimes just be quiet and just say, I'm sorry, or I apologize. Even if you feel that you don't, that you didn't do anything that's worth apologizing for, unless it's a flat out lie, you know, and you know what's a flat out lie or not, you know what I mean? But if they're but if they're interpreting an experience and you're one way and you're seeing it another way, it's not a lie. It's just a matter of perspective from the giver to the receiver. And you're always going to have a difference of opinions when it comes to certain experiences, because whatever you have done to raise them, or whatever situation or whatever spankings or whatever it is that you have done to your child, you know, from a place of love, but it might have hurt them, is going to always seem different from you. So their explanation is not going to make too much sense. But you, like I said, you can't just say that it's not, that it never happened. Your best bet is to just always sit there and listen and say, I am sorry, and really, really mean it. Like, I am sorry. I am sorry. You know, if there is anything that you can think of in your life from your own upbringing, if there is anything that you can think of where you know, or something clicks in your mind when your child is expressing their childhood trauma that came through you, if there's anything in your childhood from your own parents that clicks in that moment and you can kind of see a resemblance of the connection, that'll be the time to bring that into that moment. And number one, apologize. Number two, you know what? I see where you got that from. I see how you can feel that way. And I would have felt the same way, because when I was this age, this is what happened to me. And I probably projected that on you, and that didn't even belong to you. I should have already healed that. You know what I mean? And so it's about identifying the experiences. And I strongly always suggest to my clients when they come to me with these, with these issues with their children, that the best thing and the most powerful thing that you can give your child is your story. And I'm not talking about your story about how you sacrificed for them, how you went to work with no shoes or holes, or how you had to walk to work in the snow for 20 minutes, for 2 hours to get to work, to put food on the table. Not that story, because they heard that story growing up and that didn't work. They need an explanation, right? And the best way to give them an explanation for what they're experiencing right now is to give them clarity about your experience growing up with your parents. How did you feel at 8 years old? Were you hungry? You know, were you hungry? Did you go without things as a teenager? Was your parents there for you? You have to find a way to connect those moments to make them teachable moments. You know what I'm saying? If your child say, well, mom, you wasn't never there. You was never there for us. You was always working 2 jobs. Well, I had to because I had to put food on the table. You know what I mean? If your parents did the same thing, you have to put yourself back in that time. and learn to identify with your child's experience, not divide and say, well, this is why, and so this is what happened. You know what I mean? Because if you do that, if you tell them your experience with your parents, because then not only that'll kind of give you some insight into why you did what you did, or how you had to go through certain, experiences with your children. Like, wow, I remember when I was your age, and my parents worked too hard, always worked, and they was never home. And I was raised by my grandmother. I was raised by whoever. And, we didn't have too much. And I remember feeling like you're feeling. So maybe that's why I ended up raising you that way, because I didn't heal that, or I didn't even realize that I was doing the same thing to you that my parents did to me that didn't make me feel too good. Things like that helps children understand you. A lot of us have children, and our children don't even know us because they don't know our story. They just know our struggle from raising them, but they don't know our story on why we are who we are today and those experiences that shaped us. So I'm not saying that you have to sit down with your child and give them a whole book of who you were back then. I'm talking about in those moments when they are hurting, or in those moments when you are spending time with them, going to the park, the movies, having dinner, whatever it is. You just bring up a piece of your life that may help them understand their own experiences, because then they end up saying in their head, wow, I didn't know your father. I didn't know grandpa, I didn't know you had that type of relationship with him or grandma. I didn't know that, and not to say that you want to get them to hate your parents, their own grandparents, but everybody has a past, and you can't give what you don't have. You see? And so right then and there, that statement right there is enough for them to understand. I couldn't give you what I didn't have. I didn't have a nurturing mother. I didn't have a nurturing father. Nobody's really ever showed me that kind of affectionate love. The way I'm not talking about myself. I'm saying as an example, because my mother was very nurturing, right? We didn't have a lot, but she was very nurturing. So you would say, my parents never, did X, Y, and Z. So it wasn't easy for me to be a hugger, or it wasn't easy for me to be someone who would, hold you or stuff like that. That's always been hard because I've never had that for my parents. When children find out who you really are as a human being, who where you have come from to this day, gradually they'll start to understand your walk. Gradually they'll start to understand why you did things a certain way. And with that understanding comes clarity. And with that clarity comes peace, healing, forgiveness, empathy, sympathy. Because then they'd be like, wow, okay. Especially that I don't have, I can't give you what I don't have. I've never been hugged, so I never knew how to hug you. And I'm sorry that I did that. I'm sorry that I did that I didn't hug you a lot. But this is why that happened. But you should have never went without that anyway. And so now that I understand, I need to start over, or whatever it is. Whatever it is, it's about teaching them about your experiences, so that way they can heal their own pain. Because that's the only thing that's really the only thing that'll work, Otherwise, they think that you're a monster and that you did it on purpose, so that you could have done better. Because trust me, most children think you could have done better. You know what I mean? Let me get to some comments. I got like another 10 minutes. Debbie Baker said, I had this conversation with my granddaughter who's about to graduate. Okay, yeah, she's torn between military and college. We went through that. Bags in the Attic, which is Debbie Kramer. Back then, there was only one way, and that way was our parents, where we live in different times now. The world is different now, so all we can do is do different. Is do different with our kids, right? That's the only thing we can do, and always understand this one rule. Since most of us are grandparents, we have two lives: the one that we're born into, that we have no control over, which is our parents, and then the one that we create for ourselves as we become adults, right? Another way of helping your child heal their childhood trauma is change behavior. A lot of reasons why children don't get over their pain is because they see the same behavior. We have to really take accountability for our behavior. We should not be doing with our children this doing with our grandchildren the same thing we did with our damn children. It should get better. It should get better, right? We should not have that same mindset as our parents have that never change. It should get better. Remember, our children are an improved version of ourselves. They're not meant to be us. They're not meant to follow in our shoes. They have to become their own people. And let me give you an example. The person who made a car, very first person who made a car, which is probably 1000 BC. I'm just joking. You guys know what I'm talking about. The person who made the first car is not the person who made that car today. Today's car is an improved version of the first car, right? Things are supposed to get better, bigger, more sufficient, right? That's my alarm to get my biscuit. So I got like another 10 minutes, or actually 15 minutes. Yeah, so things are supposed to get better. Your children are an improved version of you. They're not supposed to be you. They're not supposed to be you. Margaret says, hello, good afternoon. Debbie Kramer, Bags in the Attic. I can't even see Bags in the Attic anymore. Where were you back then, Lee? Where were you back then? I was back then where? In the Bronx? I grew up in the Bronx. Antoinette says, hello. Good afternoon. Hello. 324. Hey, I'm late coming through. That's okay, Santori. I appreciate you coming through. I only see my comments here. Help. Oh, Lord. Light bulb. Hi, babe. So, hey, Billy. You guys just coming in. So, yeah. So, for those of you who just came in, just catch the replay. It's not a long live at all. I was just explaining parental malpractice and dealing with difficult children. And there's way more to this also, guys. So I'm going to end up doing another live, and I'm going to elaborate on childhood trauma and dealing with difficult children, how to deal with them. All right. But as I said, as a recap, the best way to deal with difficult children, number one, is to wait for them to come to you with their story. Wait for them to come to you with their trauma. When they do come to you with their trauma, you have to be open enough to hear it, number one, and be open enough to receive it. And you do that by putting yourself in their shoes. Even if you don't understand it, some of it may seem like it came straight out of Pluto. That doesn't mean that they did not have their own experience. Even if their experiences are distorted, it's not up to you to, get that image right in their head. They have an experience. You know what I mean? And when they're open enough, or when they're calm enough, then you can give them your experience with that same certain situation that may seem really off, that they are experiencing that you have no recollection of, okay? Or if you do, you saw it a completely different way. You know what I mean? It takes time. It takes a lot of time for children to get through, from our young kids, even young adults, to get through their childhood trauma. It's going to come in nickels. You have to be open to hear it. You have to be able to receive it. You have to be able to apologize for it without making a million excuses about what you did and how you done went through Mount Everest to bring them that loaf of bread. That doesn't help them. They don't care about that. All they care about is the experience and why you did it. And a lot of times, depending on their age range, whether they're teenagers, especially if they're teenagers, their heart is broken. And so what they really want is I'm sorry, and what they really want is change behavior, change behavior. Because a lot of times as adults, as parents, we still replicate the same behavior. Replicate the same behavior that we had 20, 30 years ago. And we shouldn't. We should be bigger, better, improved version of ourselves. Why are we still the same person? Why are we still the same person from way back then? You know? So the best apology is changed behavior. Listen, son, listen, daughter, this is not who I am now, right? I've changed, right? Haven't you seen this and that and the other? Well, it's because of whatever, whatever, whatever. So we have to learn to really open up our hearts to just hear our children in order to help them through. But when you end up being blocked and you have that wall of like, nope, I did my best and I ain't apologize for nobody, I did my best, you mess it up for your child. You delay your child's healing. Your child's going to have to find another way to heal because they can't heal through you because you can't hear them. But believe me, when I tell you the quickest and the most sufficient way of healing is through you, is through your acknowledgement of what you did or what you didn't do, giving them pieces of yourself, you know, from how you grew up and what was expected of you, your pains, your joys, your embarrassments, whether you was bullied, all of those things. The more they know about you, as they get older, they'll begin to put together the pieces of why you were the way you were with them. And as they get older, it'll make more and more sense, especially when they get their children and they start realizing that they're replicating the same behavior that you had with them. And as they go along, they start to change those behaviors to make themselves better, to improve on their parental practices or experiences as a parent. Okay, so that's all I have for now. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Woohoo! I should have did this later on tonight, but you're telling the truth. Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Look at Debbie still having problems. I want to know if everybody thought that knew that Debbie was bags in the attic. Darnell probably knew. Darnell probably knew. Hey, Mabel, thank you so much for the clap, clap. Oh, Lord, Debbie. So, guys, thank you so much. And like I said, I'm going to be coming on more often. You're welcome. I'm going to be coming on more often to give you guys some more of what I have in my head. And the type of issues that I deal with throughout my coaching practice. Yes, Felicia, thank you so much. Oh, and also in my subscribers group. Well, first of all, you guys, why am I screaming? You guys, if you're interested in any kind of coaching, go to my website, LenaCrespo.com or CoachLenaCrespo.com. You'll see the various services that I have. You'll see my podcast on there. You see my upcoming book on there, so on and so forth. But please become a subscriber if you haven't. If you want to support me, please become a subscriber. Right now, I'm currently, only for my subscribers, I'm gifting 2 clarity sessions, which typically run for about 90 minutes. What is that, an hour and a half? No, an hour and 45 minutes. Well, anyway, can't do the math, Mike. It's a 90-minute session, Zoom session, right? And actually, it's one of my most popular sessions because number one, it's only like, I think it's $175. Typically, I sell that session, that course for, and not a course, a session for. And you get to basically ask me anything, pick my brain. You get to work out multiple areas of your life if you want, or you can just focus on one specific area of life if you want clarity on just one thing, and I will help you get clarity. And trust me, even in my what do you call it, my discovery calls, when people are calling me for a free consultation, I change lives even in that, and that's for free. When they walk away from that from that consultation, they're already like, wow. Okay, so my clarity sessions are very valuable. Valuable. And like I said, it's one of my most popular ones because number one, it's inexpensive. Number two, you get a lot of clarity, a lot of answers, and you can ask anything. Remember, I'm a mindset transformation and soul coach, which means that I help people think a certain way, right? I fix people's mind, right? And I do that through positive psychology, CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. I'm also a soul coach. So I write about, and teach about manifesting, life, death, and everything in between. I teach people how to deal with life. I teach them about the experiences in life. I teach them how to deal with death. I teach people what death really is. Okay. So in those clarity sessions, you can get clear about anything. All right. And you have 90 minutes, but you have to become a subscriber to do so. So I just posted it in my subscribers group today, this morning. And on Saturday, I'm going to pick 2 people, and I'm going to set up 2 clarity sessions for next week for those 2 people. And I'm going to be doing this at least once or twice a month. All right. So you guys want to be a subscriber in order to, participate in that giveaway. All right. So again, I'm going to go catch a replay on my students are coming out. Okay, Rika. So thank you guys so much. Mwah. Have a wonderful day, and I'll be seeing you guys later on. Bye-bye.